Coffee time again, exposing the truth. Welcome to Coffee Time Again, exposing the truth. Dale at the microphone, the show that demonstrates how history repeats itself. He digs into the past, shows what happens, and how it is happening now. Follow the path of history to where it goes, then relate it to today to reveal the connections. The culture that forgets its history has no future. A history buff and loves to talk about it, going back as far as ancient Greeks and Egyptians and beyond. So grab your coffee, your chair, and listen to the show. Hope you enjoy.
Good morning, America. Good morning, world. America's doing good this today, I understand. I've seen a lot of news today. And who knows about the world? I don't pay attention to that. So anyway, welcome to the show. This is Coffee Time Again, where we expose the truth. And today we're exposing the truth with Sheldon. And since my notes got lost during the move, I'm not real sure what we're going to talk about, but we'll get it together. Yeah, but moving my cleaning lady came by and cleaned out my desk, and now I have no idea what anything is. So we'll just go ahead and talk to Sheldon and his cat, and we'll see what's going on. Good morning, Sheldon. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, Dale. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I live in Albany, Oregon. I Right now I'm going by I guess you could call it the job description of guerrilla scholar, and what that means I'll talk about in a little bit. But I've recently written a book called The Guerrilla Scholar's Handbook, which is about how to do interesting and satisfying intellectual work when you don't have access to a university. It's based on the proposition that basically anybody can do really interesting learning and educational projects. It also emphasizes um, forming learning groups and learning communities, which I'm starting to think is becoming more and more important in today's world. Um, and the book dropped on 25th of June. So it hasn't been out for very long, but it is available on Amazon, Bookfinders, and a few other outlets. But essentially, the idea of guerrilla scholarship is doing intellectual work by being creative, using unconventional approaches to finding and working with information. It tends to ignore disciplinary boundaries. It avoids specialization. It's more of a generalist kind of thing. And it's basically based on the proposition that intellectual work doesn't stop or intellectual freedom doesn't stop when you step off a college campus. It's available to everyone, and it invites people to lay claim to an intellectual heritage that I think is kind of implicit in what the founding fathers gave us with respect to how this country was set up. It was set up by people who were curious and who were intellectuals and who were scientists, and they wanted to keep it friendly for people like that. So yeah, that's sort of the 30,000-foot view of it.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. We did you talked about studying your own university in your bedroom?
Yeah, one of the one of my many adventures was by an absolutely crazy chain of events. I found myself co-founding a university with two other gentlemen whose that was designed from the ground up to uh, offer programs to people in the intelligence, counterterrorism, and executive protection communities. So that was kind of an interesting thing to see how a university is actually built. And what I discovered along the way is that it's not an easy process. It's kind of a difficult process to get through, but pretty much every state in the union has its own rules for what constitutes a university. And in most cases, if you keep it simple, if you keep it straightforward and you play by the rules, you can create a perfectly legitimate small-scale university that you could conceivably run out of a spare bedroom. So, for instance, let's say you are a country club and you wanted to offer courses in golf or something like that. Well, you could go set up, do the necessary paperwork, get yourself set up as a university on the state level, and you could actually issue college credit for your courses in golf, or maybe even have like an associate's degree in golf if you wanted to do that. Now that's with state approval. This wouldn't be an accredited university. That's a whole other process. But it's kind of an interesting thing to stop and think about. If I could build a university, what would I teach? What would I have people learning about? What kind of degrees might I offer? So, even as a thought experiment, it's kind of a cool thing to kick around.
Yeah, sounds interesting. What would you teach? That's how that'd be hard for me to conceive. That part right there, just being a podcaster. I'm an ex-chef, I'm an ex uh therapist, so all kinds of topics that I could come up with.
Hmm. Sure. Yeah, I look at what's going on, in the universities today. I look at how, Harvard is being pressured to bend to certain ideological uh, tenets. Columbia University has already kind of knuckled under. Uh, University of Chicago is dropping a whole bunch of stuff and scaling back a lot of its programs because of various business and political pressures. But I'm finding myself thinking, well, gee, if someone isn't teaching some of these things, maybe it's time to set up some smaller things that could keep some of that alive. So, and there's a historical precedent for this. In 1631, I think it was, after the English Civil War, there was Parliament passed a bill that said if you teach at a university, you have to teach these certain things and not other things. And there were a couple of thousand professors and clergy that said, no, we're not going to do that. So a lot of them went off and did something else, but a few of them set up their own little network of tiny universities and colleges. And they were all very specialized. And so if you want, and they became known collectively as the dissenting academies. And so if you wanted to get an undergraduate education with this system, you'd go to this little university and you'd study rhetoric, and then you'd go to this little university and you'd study philosophy, and you go to this little one and you'd study law. And when you felt like you had enough, you were done. Of course, they couldn't issue a diploma that would be officially recognized. But then these students would go like to Edinburgh or Germany or one of the universities there, take a class or two, sit for their exams, and they'd get a diploma from them. And for the next 100 or so years, because these dissenting universities were kind of in a position to be innovative and do things differently, the very best undergraduate education that could be had in Great Britain was through the dissenting academies. So, it can be done. There are some interesting examples of
Yeah,
of these kinds of small things.
that's interesting. I love history, and that's just something that's kept my whole thing is sitting into universities. I never heard
Hmm.
of them until just now.
Oh, yeah, it's not very well known. I don't know why. I think it's terribly interesting, but
It is
I I
incredible.
guess they can't cover everything.
No, they can't. I know I
Hmm.
studied a lot of England, the Magna Carta and
Uh-huh.
other things of that nature, but I never heard of this particular law and this particular thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it is. There are also other examples too. In my book, in the very last chapter, I give a number of examples of people who have uh, Well, instances where people were in a situation where they weren't supposed to be learning certain things and they found a way to learn it anyway. So, for
Mhm.
instance, um, when Poland was under Prussian rule in the early, what I guess this would be the late 19th century,
Yeah,
uh, they closed down all the universities for anyone except anyone that the Prussians liked. And
yeah,
they certainly didn't admit women. So what the Poles did was they formed their own little underground universities, and they were called flying universities because every once in a while the authorities would show up and they'd have to pick up and run off somewhere else and get reestablished. But one of the people that, well, they also got innovative. For one thing, they admitted women, which was, something that nobody was doing. And one of those women who received her undergraduate education at these flying universities grew up to be Marie Curie. So,
it's interesting.
yeah. So, and then later under communism, they brought back the flying universities, and one of the people who got their undergraduate education there, we know him as Pope John Paul II. So, it's fascinating how these sorts of things can be done. And in my book, I talk about how we can make learning communities. I also talk about um, tips and tricks for individual scholarship, how to build yourself as an independent scholar, and how to find and get information and work with information when you don't have access to things like a university library, or you're dealing with instances like we so often see with just floods of disinformation, and it's hard
Yeah,
to know what's what. In fact, I have an entire chapter on dealing with disinformation. The name of that chapter is Defense Against the Dark Arts.
yeah. So the internet is not necessarily useful because of the
Hmm.
all the misinformation, but it can
Hmm.
be useful too.
Yeah, well, that's true. Even propaganda has intelligence value, and this is something I learned when I was putting together this university for intelligence people, is that we brought people in from pretty much every alphabet soup intelligence agency in the government and a few foreign agencies, and I learned how this all works from those people. And one of the things I learned about propaganda, for instance, is that if you want to know what your opponent fears, pay attention to how he's trying to scare you. You know, he will very often try to scare you in a way that would scare him. And, I mean, just little things like that.
That's
Or,
interesting.
mhm, yeah. Um, we also talk about something that we're seeing all over the place. It's a variation on the old Soviet propaganda playbook, which used to be you flood, everything with propaganda to try to change the narrative or to promote one side over another. But this new twist on it, which has come to be called the Gerasimov Doctrine, is one where you you promote all kinds of sides and all kinds of opinions, even opinions that you disagree with. The idea is not to promote one over another, but to create such a storm of contradicting ideas and thoughts and so-called facts that people basically give up trying to know what's what.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
One of the first propagandists out there was Vladimir Lenin,
Yes. Yes.
1903, 1922, when he coined the phrase political, not political, but democratic socialism.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. He understood propaganda better than just about anybody else at
Yeah,
that time. He was very good at it.
yes, he was.
Hmm.
He's the one that when he signed the convention on the Soviet Union in 1922, he really come up with a lot of good. You know, the goal of socialism is communism.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what he is back in when they signed all the convention to get all the countries into the new Soviet Union at that time.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So Lenin was
Um,
very good at what he did.
yeah. Yeah. He was. Um, One of the other things I do in the book is I talk about examples of ordinary people doing work uh, that is really professional grade level stuff and how they go about it. Um, for instance, there was a number of years ago there was a paper that was published by a scholar named Richard Jensen, in which he argued that the whole idea during the immigration years, Irish immigration, that there were all these signs saying no Irish need apply to,
Yeah,
various jobs, that didn't happen, that it was just a myth that was made up. Well, there was another gentleman a few years later who uh, was an attorney, and he used to photocopy articles that he thought might be interesting for his kids, and he'd bring them home for them to read. And one of these articles was about this paper. And he brought it home, and his daughter Rebecca read it and thought, that's kind of curious. So she went online and she found an old newspaper database using Google, and she started doing some searching, and she was finding all kinds of stuff, pictures, ads that had no Irish need apply in them, in direct contradiction to what this guy was claiming. So she kind of kept at this, and then she went and talked to a guy named Kirby Miller, who was a retired professor at the University of Missouri, and he was an expert on Irish immigration. And he showed him the stuff that she had found, and asked, "Have I got something here?" And he says, "Absolutely. This is amazing stuff." So what he did was he worked with Rebecca and helped her turn a middle school paper into something that could be submitted for peer review. And eventually she did, and it was published in the very same journal that Jensen had published his paper in. And it, completely toppled his thesis. And,
yeah,
okay, yeah, how how many professional scholars get their thesis blown open by a 14-year-old, you know?
really.
You know, but that's kind of how it happened. And I go through the process of how this young lady managed to do this, to show, how it can be done. There are some other great examples that I didn't have room to cover in the book. For instance, there's a woman, Pamela O. Long, who's an independent historian, not connected with any university. She doesn't have a university degree in history, but she's received a MacArthur Genius Fellowship for her work. A guy named Lauren C. Ball, he's an amateur astronomer who built his own rooftop observatory on top of his house. And between the year 2000 and 2004, he discovered 111 minor planets. A guy named Alan Rockefeller, he's a self-taught mycologist, a fungi and mushroom expert who's made extensive contributions to the study of fungi. He's considered a world authority now,
Yeah,
but he's entirely self-taught. So this sort of thing is possible, and I'm kind of um, when I first started the book, and this has been a long time in the making, it was kind of a love song just to the pleasures of doing intellectual work for its own sake, and I'm still very much attached to that. But it's also kind of evolved into a manifesto that maybe we need to kind of reclaim this idea that we really can do our own thinking and think critically, and uncover the facts and know what's what, and form communities that kind of keep each other informed, but also doing a life of the mind just because it's so much fun. Uh, I've never understood the phrase makes learning fun. You've heard that, I'm sure, with various educational products. To me, that just makes no sense. I mean, that's like saying makes breathing fun.
Yeah.
If it's not fun, you're not learning, you know.
No, I can testify to that from my high school years. That's the reason I
Yeah,
enjoyed history so much. It was so much fun.
yeah. Well, I mean,
English was boring. History was
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Now, see, that's interesting in your case because a lot of people that I know would say that both English and history are boring, and
Yeah.
I can understand, when you have a history teacher that says, today we're going to learn about the French Revolution, instead of something like, today we're going to learn how 10,000 French nobles got their heads chopped off. Oh, now I'm interested,
Yeah.
you know.
It's kind of like Mr. Leader
Hmm.
taught was he was a boring man at his class because I
Uh-huh.
small town, so we knew everybody. But in class, he was just top-notch history
Huh.
and world history too, not just American history, but world history. I learned from him as well.
Nice.
I wish I could
Oh,
have
that's great.
continued on with him and took it.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't have nearly as interesting history teachers as all that. Fortunately, my parents were very big on having lots of books in the house,
Yeah.
and there were some good history books that caught hold. And
Hmm.
I eventually, I eventually pursued that and ended up getting a PhD in ancient Near Eastern studies from Berkeley. Um, so yeah, a lot of history there. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
that's the Middle East. It just goes on and on and on.
Right.
It never stops.
No.
S- So so yeah, but that is a large, kind of a big overview, big picture overview of what the book is about. It's basically a primer for the curious mind.
Yeah.
Uh, it enables curiosity. That's my hope.
Yeah. In my opinion, today's
Mhm.
education is pretty bad.
It is. It's not good. I spent the last 2 years working as a substitute and an educational assistant in the local school district.
Mhm.
And you know, the kids there, a lot of them are still kind of not quite socialized from all the home distance learning
Yeah.
during COVID. Those kids are still working their way through the system. Um, the teachers are not getting the kind of support they need. I was in one class with a guy, a kindergarten teacher. He had 32 kindergartners in his class,
Hmm.
and they were all trying to get onto their iPads, trying to get 32 kindergartners to log in on to a network on iPads. That's like trying to get a starfish to do brain surgery,
Yeah.
and it took 45 minutes just to get everybody logged in, because these kids this isn't, you know
Why? No. They
why are they
teach,
doing that? It's ridiculous. Um,
they're teaching
you
him
know,
what to think, not how to think.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. They're not taught to process information. They're taught to consume it,
Right.
and there's a difference. There's a big difference, and
Big
and
difference.
that's kind of what I'm trying to get people to do here is learn to be not just uh, a processor of information, but a discerning, discriminating processor of information. Um, another lesson that I learned working with intelligence people is that for a scholar, uh, you're just going through information and trying to figure out what's what. But for an intelligence analyst, the big difference for them is, yeah, they're doing the same thing, but they also have to keep in mind that someone out there is probably trying to spoof them,
Mhm.
trying to deceive them. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where we all are now.
Yeah.
We're all in that boat. We're all intelligence analysts now. So,
Yeah.
so I talk about some of the tricks they use to try to, find their way through, um, the mess of stuff that comes across their desks and their screens.
You did. So you wrote this book Guerrilla Scholar. I forgot the last half of it.
Oh, the Guerrilla Scholar's Handbook.
Handbook, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you planning on coming up with a second book?
Um, I have been giving that some thought. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I think I want to see what this first book does.
Hmm.
For the moment, it's only been out for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So far, not a lot of people know about it yet, but from what I've heard so far, people seem to like it. It's got some good reviews on Amazon, and yeah, I am making some notes though. I'm not sure what we'll get, but
Fine.
I do
Yeah.
think there's at least one more book in me on this subject.
Good. Because I'd be interested. I know going to get this book because once I get moved and settled in, it's not going to be tomorrow and I'm going to be
Mm,
doing this. But sometime in the next month, I'll get the book because I want to read it.
wonderful. Well, maybe we can discuss it after you've had a chance to read through it.
Yeah, then we can have another session. Yes, absolutely. I'll
That
put you on my
that'd be
list
great.
to re-invite because I
Hmm.
got a whole list of people I want to re-invite. When certain things have completed, I want to talk to them again about what they talked about the first time compared to what the second time. Like the guy I've had him 3 times on my
Hmm.
show on the border. He,
Wow.
he was a border security with the Border Patrol,
Uh-huh.
a supervisor, not just a lonely, but he was a
Oh,
supervisor in San Diego.
so he was totally plugged in.
He was totally plugged in. I've had him on here 3 times because I want to get him back again too in a little bit.
Yeah, that
Most of
sounds
the,
great.
yeah, he's great. I love him. But that's your if we get that you get that another book written, especially even if we don't
Mhm.
know once I bought through your book, I can get a hold of you and have you back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's going to be a good idea because my goal in my podcast is to get people to think,
Hmm.
and you're helping me. So I'm going to
That's
help you. We're going
all
to get
right.
this. We'll get this thing published. I have AI
Uh-huh.
recording
Oh,
everything,
transcribing?
transcribing it for me, so
Uh,
when I do my show notes, I'm accurate.
oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
give that a try. Yeah, it really works nice on Zoom
Hmm.
when I remember to turn it on. Now
Uh-huh.
I figured out a way to do it that I don't have to
Uh-huh.
worry about it. It's on.
Oh, okay. So it automatically does it.
Automatically kicks on, and I get two this. I have to,
Nice.
and it really makes my show notes is the worst part of my job. I thought writing
Mm-hmm.
those up, but this makes it so easy.
Huh. Sweet.
Yeah, it is.
Well, let's see. Do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a few. Unless you've got something else you need to be doing now.
No, no.
No, me either. I've got another podcast at 11:30.
Uh-huh.
So
Now
that's
remind me, what time zone are you in?
Mountain.
Mountain. Oh, okay. So you're just one step away from where I am. I'm in
Yeah, we're an
Pacific.
hour ahead of you, though.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But yeah, I do have more questions for you, actually, Sheldon. You got started because there are a lot of books in your house, a lot of more history. What other things did you
Mhm.
come up with?
Well, another reason why is frankly public libraries. Um, my mother was a member of the Friends of the Salem, Oregon Public Library, and she used to drop us there all the time just to uh, hang out, and I guess also kind of as ersatz daycare, in
Mhm.
some cases. They just dropped us at the library. The other thing, though, that probably made as much difference as anything is that in 1958, which is the year I was born, President Eisenhower signed something called the Defense and Education Act. And this was like 1 year after Sputnik, scared the hell out of us because,
Yeah.
we'd been told that, Russia was nothing but alcoholic factory workers and tundra farmers with frostbite, and suddenly here they are, they've got a satellite up before we do. So he came up with the very sensible idea that an educated citizenry is a matter of national security. And funding for education poured out like, like a river.
Uh,
And by the time I hit first grade, in 1964, all those lovely, lovely tools were there waiting for me.
yeah.
And my K through 12 education was frankly outstanding because it was well funded and the teachers were well paid. We had good infrastructure,
Mhm.
good materials, well stocked libraries. There was lab equipment for the science classes. It was it was everything that education should be,
Yeah.
and we were exposed to a good variety of viewpoints. We were taught how to think.
Yeah.
That plus, my parental influence and the public libraries. Another thing too, actually, this was the beginning of public broadcasting.
Hmm.
Some of the early shows. There was a show called What's New that came on, and I used to watch it, and they would have these little short segments. One of the segments was a guy talking about outer space and physics. His name was Dr. Dan Q. Posen. And I didn't realize this until much, much later, but he was apparently a very influential scientist. He was nominated 5 times for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow.
But he would talk about these things, and I'm all this, space and relativity and space travel and the planets and all this. And it was funny. Um, there were a number of things that he talked about that it was like college when I took an astronomy class, and this teacher says something. I'm like, oh, that's what Dr. Posen was talking about,
Yeah.
something like almost 20 years afterwards, and it finally clicks. But public broadcasting back then was a wonderful thing. Another time too, when I can't remember what grade I was in. I think I was still in elementary school. Some people visited our classroom, and they had this big old TV with a video tape recorder, great big thing on a
Hmm.
cart. And they said, we were going to do something with another class, but they're like doing something else. We've got this show that we're getting ready to produce, that we're producing. We'd like you to take a look at some early cuts of what we're doing. It's called Sesame Street. Yeah. Oh, Sesame Street. Oh, well, that's kind of weird. Okay, so we got to see some of that, and yeah, that's pretty cool. He says it's a little young for you guys, but you might, we'd love to get your reaction anyway.
Yeah.
So, there was that going on, and there was just all this ferment. There was a lot of in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of educational experimentation happening. There were a lot of small, tiny colleges. There were teach-ins and all this idea of learning and sharing information was everywhere.
Yeah.
And it somehow kind of fizzled. I'm not entirely sure why or how, but it did.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of in a position where we need to get it back.
Yeah, we do. Uh, Actually, as I understand it anyway, the internet was started because of a connection between colleges on
Hmm.
using computers, and that's how the internet
Yes.
got its start, was colleges being connected to each other
Yeah,
with
it
these
was.
computers.
It was something that was underwritten by the Defense Department back in
Yes.
that was called ARPANET,
Yes.
Advanced Research Projects Net, and then that eventually evolved into the internet. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's right. And yeah, I can remember hearing about that, and in the early no the mid 80s was when I first started seeing it for real. And back then, there was email, and you could move files around with FTP and Telnet, and that was about it.
That's about it. Yeah, I
Um,
remember those
yeah,
days. My
yeah.
first computer was a Commodore VIC-20,
Oh
1980.
my gosh. Yes. Yeah. I have a friend who's a ham radio enthusiast,
Yeah,
and he also has he participates in a packet network, which was kind of ham radio's answer to the dial-up bulletin boards
yeah,
of yore, and he still runs a packet node
yeah.
on a Commodore 64. He still
Right.
uses it for that, and it still works.
I've used a 64
Uh-huh.
before because that was my second computer.
Uh-huh.
It was two computers. What was it? The 64 and
Hmm.
one other one combined.
Yeah.
Can't remember the
But
other one.
but it's remarkable what those machines could do.
Yeah,
Even as we look back on them, and I mean, good grief, my digital watch has probably more computing power than one of those things did, but you could still do quite a bit.
you could do quite a bit. I remember one time I was trying to get to the library at Denver.
Uh-huh.
Somehow or another put in the wrong code because you had
Uh-huh.
in those days you didn't type dot library at Denver. You typed in a long, long line of stuff
Uh-huh.
and ended up at the Library of Congress.
Oh.
You got close,
Okay.
but that was interesting. I got some real education out of that Library of Congress stuff.
Oh, I
I was
believe it.
there.
Yeah.
I only went that one time, but it was interesting as all get out.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's another great source of information that people don't um, take advantage of, and that's
Oh,
government publications.
right.
I mean, the government publishes thousands of new titles every month,
Yeah.
and by law, every congressional district has to have at least one government documents repository
Mm,
and people to staff it. The problem with government documents is that um, you would think that the government documents would use the Library of Congress catalog system, but
mm.
no, that would be too easy.
Yeah, that would be.
Um, yeah, they have their own system. It's called the Superintendent of Documents system, and not all librarian schools teach that.
No.
And so what you often end up with is if your public library does have government documents, they might be off in some obscure place uh, that is kind of neglected, and the
Mm,
librarians might not even know how to access. But if you
yeah.
go to a repository, then they know what they're doing. But they can do other things too. For instance, at repositories, they keep an index of government experts
Hmm.
that they consult, and you can consult them too if you want to. I mean, you're
Yeah.
you're paying their salaries, right?
Right.
So if you are interested in, I don't know, let's say trout fishing,
Yeah.
you can find someone at the Department of Fish and Wildlife who knows everything there is to know about trout in your particular area,
Yeah.
and contact them and ask your question, and they'd probably be delighted to hear from you.
Probably getting bored. There's a lot of people because
Yeah.
I knew about it, but vaguely.
Mhm. Yeah.
About the Library of Congress and not this other one we're talking
Mhm.
about, but
Yeah, the
vaguely.
government documents.
Right.
Yeah. Hmm.
Government documents. So
Hmm. Yeah.
there's so we can see people like me I consider myself relatively educated,
Uh-huh.
not knowing as much as I thought I knew.
Hmm. Well, it's a good idea to go to your public library and get to know the reference librarian, because they've got tricks up their sleeve that,
Hmm.
I mean, it's amazing what they can
Well,
do. And most people have no idea of all the things that a public library has
right.
access to.
And there are just some people that have a knack for doing things. I called my
Hmm.
computer guy. My computer went down the middle of a interview with my psychiatrist
Uh-huh.
and just died. So I called
Oh,
Chad, and he came down the next day and took him less than a minute to fix it.
huh. Wow. Yeah.
You know,
If you know what to do, if you know the
you
magic
want to, you
words, and
plugged it in. It had come up.
oh,
And as for me, while it was back there, I missed it.
Oh
whatever.
my gosh.
But that,
Yeah,
that's
I've
the type of person he is. He's seen that, goes, just plug it in.
uh-huh. Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I've made that mistake too, a couple of
yeah.
times at least. Yeah.
But Chad's that type of
So,
guy. He just knows.
hmm.
He's done it 3 or 4 times. Come down here and fix something on my computer that I
Uh-huh.
didn't know how to fix. Rather than plugging it in, he had other ones that have happened that he's come in. It took him about 4 or 5 minutes, but he had it fixed.
Yeah.
It would have taken me
Hmm.
hours to get to it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the value though of having having for lack of a better word, a community. You know,
Hmm.
different people in your circle who know different things,
Yeah,
know how to, deal with different kinds of information and all that.
yeah,
Or fix computers or,
yeah.
you know,
Plug him in.
whatever. There was a woman that I knew. She was a nun at a Catholic seminary that was right next door to where we lived,
Yeah,
and there were a couple of times when I had some old books where the binding was just falling apart, and she basically rebound them.
yeah. That's a
Did a
quite a note
beautiful
too.
job. Yeah,
That's a
and
note.
it was, and she was using duct tape and packing tape.
Yeah,
But she did an incredibly good job. Those bindings are still good, something like, 15 years later.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know how she does it, but
I have no clue.
yeah. Hmm.
That's just his
But
college courses and that. But I think we're running low on time. We're not low on time. It's just that I'm low
mhm.
on questions.
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't know what else to talk about other than I will say the book is available in softcover, hardcover, ebook, and it's also available as an audiobook.
Oh,
I
oh, yeah,
I
that's
know,
the one I'm getting then.
yeah, I know it's on Google Play, and there's several other platforms that are
Okay,
carrying it, so you can find it there. And if you do get it on Amazon, or if you find yourself on Amazon and you've read the book or you've read enough of the book to have an opinion, I would appreciate leaving a review because that always helps.
absolutely. Oh, I always do.
Uh, yeah.
And something that I really like I'm sure I'm going to love your book. Uh,
Mm.
like I said, it's going to be a few days before I can get to it. I am going
Yeah,
to get the ebook. I'll tell you that right now
uh-huh.
because I read real well. My eyes are so bad that they water up and I can't see, even with
Mm.
my glasses. So,
Uh-huh.
I get the ebooks a lot and we read it. So I have them read it to me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I get the Audible books. I have a
Yeah,
subscription to Audible, and I got four free ones due me, so I get it for free.
nice. Very cool.
Very cool. So I want
Yeah.
to wish you luck. I bless you. I think you've done an incredible job here, Sheldon. Here you've done an incredible job with what your life. You've done an incredible job of educating people, and I'm going to help you do that because we're going to get this published, and I'll advertise it in several places. You're free. If you want, I'll send you a copy of copy of this.
Please do. Yes.
Okay. And you can get that. It will be coming in an email, so I need your email when I get it off your website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's come WeTransfer is the name of WeTransfer.com.
Uh-huh.
It transfers a whole file. Its whole idea is to transfer large files, and these are large files.
Oh, sure, of course.
And
Yeah, because it's too
it'll
big to
be emailed to you.
email.
You just download it. You got it.
Sweet.
And I'll compress it. I'll condense it. I use it Handbook, and I compress things from
Hmm.
20 megabytes down to 10 or 5.
Uh-huh.
So I'll do that for you too. And that way
Okay.
you
Yeah,
got
I'd
it.
appreciate
And
that.
as soon as I get it edited, and that's going to be a while because I'm going to be
Okay.
busy, but I'll get it done and I'll let you know when it's published and I'll send you the copy.
Wonderful. Thank
All
you. I
right.
really appreciate that.
Not a problem. I want to get this out, the word out. You can publish it any way you want to. It's yours.
Okay, thank
You
you.
do anything with it you want. I don't want no. So, enjoy yourself. Have a beautiful day. Hope it's a good day in Oregon. It's
It
not too bad here today. It rained yesterday, but
yeah, it's shaping up to be a nice day today.
all
Yeah.
right.
All right. Well, thank you, Dale. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has been.
Thank you for listening to the show. There are show notes and a place to comment at https://coffee-time-again.libsyn.com/website. He hopes that you liked what you heard and will tell others about him. Dale is attempting to get a following that both disagrees and agrees with him. He does not want yes men. If you disagree, wonderful. He is happy to have you here as a part of the Coffee Time Again team. Dale does not talk about the news of the day. He is attempting to give a history lesson that is just as important about what is going on in the headlines of today. Please do not hesitate to contact him. Just remember that Dale wants a clean show, meaning no cussing, name calling, yelling, or hate allowed. You can disagree with him and not be disagreeable about it. Support him and help keep this alive. https://glow.fm/coffee-time-again.